when people would say, stop being that way, or you're really cocky, or you're really arrogant. And I was like, how do I not be that? It hurts when you hear these things, but you're like, okay, but what do I do? And so I would encourage you, if you have either negative traits that you're trying to get rid of,
we have this big nebulous term of anything, let's call it confidence. And then there's these component parts that confidence is made up of. And only by defining those can you actually bring it closer to you. Yeah, I think, in terms of getting people past the paralysis of be confident, like what does that even mean? Where do I start? What are the component parts of confidence? And yeah, breaking down any big thing into small manageable steps is kind of the key to achieving large goals. Breaking down nebulous concepts into high resolution, very tangible, very obvious individual skills. I really like that. I really like that.
I think it may be the single source of single is tough. One of the largest correlates to what has worked for me in my life, because a lot of this obsession around this, and you probably know more about it off camera than people can hear on camera, has come from me fundamentally not understanding the world. And so I put so much effort into trying to understand when people would say, stop being that way, or you're really cocky, or you're really arrogant. And I was like, how do I not be that? And are you really distractible? Are you really, you're scattered? And these were all things that it hurts when you hear these things, but you're like, okay, but what do I do? And so I would encourage you, if you have either negative traits that you're trying to get rid of or positive traits that you're trying to accrue or become more like, to simply demystify it by breaking it down into the behaviors. And when you do that, you'll realize that though there may be many variables in that there are lots of little things that it takes, they're usually not nearly as complex as you'd think. And so then you just start looking at it as a checklist and saying, okay, people think I'm arrogant when I begin talking to them about how much money I make. Okay, so I have two options. I can either be around people who like talking about money and don't see it as arrogant, or when I'm around people who I think have a high likelihood of that and I care about their opinion for some reason, then I won't begin that way. And then all of a sudden, fewer and fewer people begin to describe you as arrogant. Now, you are still the same, but people describe you less in those terms. And so I'll give you a different example. It's completely off the wall here. So one that was really helpful for me was defining love. And so the problem with the English or all languages is that there's many words that mean the same thing. And so we can look up Webster's dictionary or whatever, but if you actually look at the definitions, I think most words are actually poorly defined, because if you just define them by what someone has to do, then most definitions fall short. And many of them, if you find online, are circular, right? But like likingness and loving to me are a continuum. It's not like I like this person, I love this person, and just exists on this I hate to I really like. Cool. Now, if I were to say I love you, what does that mean operationally? So for me, I define love by what I'm willing to give up to maintain my relationship with something or someone. And so by using that definition, I was able to see, maybe I don't love my family as much as I thought, because I'm actually not willing to give up very much in order to maintain this relationship. And I might actually love my friend, or I may love my coworkers a lot more than I love my family if we use the definition of what I'm willing to give up in order to keep it. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, I love my goals more than I love anyone. I'm not willing to give up my goals in order to maintain a relationship. And so I actually, when I realized this, I sat down with Layla and I was like, hey, I think I love my goals more than I love you.
How did that go down?
Great. Because she was like, my whole goal in life has been to help you accomplish your goals. And I think the reason that we've had such an aligned relationship is that both of us want to help the other person achieve their goals. And in so doing, then you're aligned, and it's like, wow, I would give up everything to maintain peace. Because if Layla is the person on earth that helps me accomplish my goals more than anyone else, and my goals mean more to me than anything else, then
Layla is now the conduit between the two. Yeah, she's like Inception mind you into.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now some people get really uncomfortable by me saying that, but
It sounds transactional in some ways.
And it is. And I believe in transactions and relationships in general. But when we sat, like, for some reason in marriage, it sounds weird, but on a first date, the first thing you share is, these are my goals. This is what I want to do. Like, is that at all interesting to you? Because if you're not aligned with where I'm trying to go, then maybe we shouldn't walk in this path together. But for some reason later, that no longer applies. I believe what you apply on first date should also apply on 10 years in. At least that's what's worked for us. And if there's ever been a moment where we're like, hey, we feel off kilter here, this feels like it's conflicting with our earlier agreement, then we reconcile it, right? And so I bring this up because there are so many terms like loyalty, trust, and I spend a lot of time trying to define these terms so that I can say, not do I trust this person, but how much do I trust this person? This person is honest or not? No, how honest is this person? And the only way that you can know someone is honest is if they've had the opportunity to lie, where it's not socially beneficial for them, where they lose status by still being integrous and saying what really occurred. And so I have this massive list on my phone. It's got all the terms that I refer to frequently. But I would encourage you to define them by what behavior you have to do.
Have you got your phone on you now?
Yeah.
Can you pull up one and give us a term that you like to look at?
I'll give a fun one. I have tons. This is fun.
It's words. And that's one of the things that I appreciate is anybody that spends enough time crafting words and thinking about them precisely ends up having a very accurate view of the world, because all of the fluffiness that comes about, we mediate our experience through language. And then what? You've got a eating grin on your face.
Oh, I've just got so many.
Okay, well, pick one of your favorites.
I'll do three of them. Two of them that are related, and then a third one. All right. So this will be really good. This will be nasty for the people who are listening at home. So learning means same condition, new behavior. So phone rings. You answer the phone, you say ABC. I say, cool, read this script instead that says DEF. Phone rings, same condition. You say DEF, you have learned. Same condition, new behavior. Intelligence is rate of learning. It's speed. It's a measurement of speed. And so it means how many times do you need to be exposed to the same condition in order to change your behavior? If I teach someone something, that script, and then on the first try they say DEF, and someone else, it takes 5 tries for them to say DEF, they are not as intelligent as the first person. Here's why this is interesting. Every person who's listening to this right now has listened to 1,000 podcasts, and they're in the exact same condition, and yet they have not changed their behavior, which means 1, they have not learned, and 2, they are dumb. Which also means that if you can control your behavior, you can also control how intelligent you are. And so if you want to be a smart cookie, then it means that you just decrease the amount of times that you do not change your behavior under the same conditions. And so when I think about this, when I teach my team, when I teach anyone, I think in these conditions. And so every time you watch or you consume a piece of content, or you read a book, if you think, what behavior am I going to change as a result of this? If the answer is nothing, you wasted your time and you pretended to be learning, but you were really entertaining yourself. And so that frame has been incredibly helpful for me to speed up how quickly I take action, because I don't want to be a dodo bird. So that's two different ones, learning and intelligence. One that I've been thinking a lot about with Dr. K and I, we go back and forth, is motivation. So I'll tell you a story and then I'll bring it up, I'll bring it around. So I was at an event and a young lady said, Alex, can you just give me 60 seconds of motivation? And of course it's like, dance monkey dance. And so I took a deep breath and I was like, define motivation. And she just like melted. She had no idea, right? And I was like, so you want me to answer a question or make a statement about something that you can't even define. And so how would you have any idea of whether or not I actually did it? And so then I probably gave her the answer she really wanted, which was, let me define motivation for you. So motivation is the equal opposite of deprivation. So we are most motivated when we are deprived of something. I'm most motivated to sleep when I'm sleep deprived. I'm most motivated to eat when I'm deprived of food. I'm most motivated to have sex when I haven't had sex in a while. Now, that logic carries for physiological needs. But then when you get into psychological things or intangible constructs, so like let's think about money. By that same logic, you'd think, oh, poor people should be more motivated because they're deprived of money, but that we don't see that in reality. Many poor people are not that motivated. So it would then follow, and I've seen some incredibly rich people who are wildly hungry for money. And so then it would follow that the deprivation comes from our reference point because money is intangible. And so it's how much do we perceive our deprivation around money? And so if all of my friends are billionaires and I'm worth $100 million, then I have a $900 million deficit that I have to come up. I'm $900 million poorer than the person who just is at $5,000 a month who wants to make $10,000 a month. I'm more motivated to make money than they are because I'm more deprived of it. And so in thinking about this, I then think, okay, what am I deprived of? That motivates me to go get it. And also, when I want to try and judge the behavior of others or predict their behavior, I have to think, what things are they deprived of? Because I'll have a much stronger predictive power than trying to say, how do I motivate this person? Look at what they lack.
It's a much more accurate way to predict the things that people are going to chase after.
Operationalized. What do they do?